you. So welcome everybody to SIMS. So SIMS is a group that we ran a long time ago, and we've flashed everything back up again. So it stands for Suffolk Internet Marketing Specialist, and I have suggested to Norfolk that we call it SNIMS. So if they want to give me some sponsorship. So we've basically, under a thing called the ISTN, which is the Ipswich and Suffolk Tech Network, we've tried to group all of the networks together, and at the moment we're in talks to get some sponsorship to try and help the network. So we've got SIMS, we've got Suffolk Developers, we've got Sync Ipswich, which, as I mentioned, Paul Grenier, His Highness Paul Grenier, who started Sync Norwich or Sync Norfolk, Sync Norwich, Sync Norwich, and started NordevCon, and really honestly was responsible for a lot of the community work that kicked off here in the back sort of 2012. So we've started all of this stuff up again, and it is genuinely about education, anything we can do to bring together education, and it's not about kids, it's about lifelong learners. It's technology. The only consistent thing about technology is it's really inconsistent, so you have to get your head around it and learn over time. So I can see some of you, Jane particularly, and Lynn, are original SIMS members, so you guys used to come to these things in physical. I think we ran them for 3 years and we used to get decent numbers and do all this stuff, so we want to get back into that zone, Jane and Lynn. So I'll say to you what I used to say back in the day, which is really it's about you guys growing as businesses. So bring us any of your friends that you think need help, and bring us topics that you want to know more about. If there's anything where you've smashed away at the keys for a while and thought, I didn't really understand that, let us help you get the right people to make it easier. Which leads me into our topic for this evening, which is Google My Business, which on the surface of it can seem like a bit of a kind of sideline issue. It's not something that's the main piece of the pie, but actually is pivotal, particularly when you're looking at local growth. And I'm very lucky that I spent 6 months working at Strategic with their incredible team, and sat next to Levi at some point, super lucky. She is also a future Great British Bake Off entrant, so keep an eye on it. It is not the worst thing in the world working with someone who makes cakes on a daily basis, I have to say. It wasn't an unhappy time for me. It was about an extra 3/4 of a stone. And so Levi specialises in Google My Business, and we're very lucky through Das earlier, she's given this talk before, so we've invited her to come back and give it this evening. So Levi, if you'd like to share your screen and take over, I'm going to hand you over. If you'd like to explain who you are and give them your talk, that'd be great. And I will go on silent. I'll let people in as we go through, and if you've got any questions, I'll let Levi explain to you how best she'd want you to communicate with them. And I will now be quiet. Over to Levi.
Lovely, thank you very much. Let me just pick the right. Okay, can everyone see that lovely presentation? Yeah, lovely. I would prefer, if possible, if you can pop your questions in the chat and we'll go through them at the end, if that's all right. Just because it interrupts my flow. I like to flow. But yeah, if there's anything really burning, you can try and wave at me. I might see you. Cool. Okay, so obviously my name's Levi. I'm a search specialist at Strategic. I've been at the agency for about 4 years. I actually just gone exactly 4 years. And I spend almost all day, every day, either in Google My Business or working around it in some way, shape or form. And this it is exactly as Sam said, a really pivotal part of local businesses that I think is underused and underappreciated, which is why I'm really championing it as much as I possibly can. Yeah. So we're going to start with the basics. So what is it? A lot of people don't even know what it is, let alone want to know how to use it. So it was introduced in 2014, and it pretty much changed the game for local businesses. Google has obviously been a big part of how businesses are found and how people choose what they actually want to purchase. And Google My Business offered a way for local businesses that wouldn't have had the ability previously to present themselves amongst big competitors to do that. So this is a lovely quote. I put it in all my presentations. It basically is your shop window. It's your new homepage on your website. It's your way of getting in front of customers, offering them contact information, finding out information about your business, all that kind of stuff, really important stuff on the search result page. So they don't have to come to your website. They don't have to do any of that. And actually it's a really handy thing for just qualifying out people who might not actually want to come and use your business. And the biggest, most wonderful thing about GMB is that it is completely free to set up and use. And we are hoping it is going to remain that way. There's been a lot of talk in the industry about it possibly becoming a charged feature, but I don't think Google's going to do that. So I think we're pretty safe for now. So this is what it looks like. So I've used my agency as an example. So when you do a brand search, this is what it looks like. It will come up on the right-hand side most often, and it will have all this lovely information. So your location, your address, if you allow people to see that, your opening hours, phone number, events, reviews, literally as much as you can possibly put in there. Everything that you put in this profile will be visible from this view when someone searches for your brand. That's not the case when it's a service search, but we'll get through that later. So this is what it will look like if it's a service search. So here I've done a search for Chamber of Commerce. Google has worked out where I am. So I'm somewhere around Felixstowe, Ipswich, Bury St Edmunds sort of area. And it's worked out that there's a few there, a few Chamber of Commerce businesses that I might want to look at. And this is how it kind of comes up. Then you click into these individually and it will come up in a big maps, and you can go through it like you do Google Maps. So I'll just quickly run through the minimum profile elements that you want to have. So these are things that if you don't have these, don't bother trying to set one up until you have them all ready to go. Apart from website, you don't have to have a website to have GMB. Yeah, so your business name, obviously, ideally not a very commonly used word. So don't call your business Coca-Cola because you're definitely not going to appear in a Coca-Cola search. Your phone number, your business category, this is quite important. We'll go through why a bit later. Website, if you have one, and a tracking code, which again, I can go through later if you need. Your business address, you will need one of these, but they don't have to be visible. So if you're a mobile business, it will just be your business registered address, and you can make it so it's not visible to people, so they don't turn up and visit your house if you run your mobile business from your home. Your business hours, and ideally your company logo. Annoyingly, sometimes Google will just choose random photos to present on here, which is why you can't see our company logo on here, but it's good to have it on there if you have one. So most Google search results are based on your location as well as what you searched. 46% of Google searches are looking for local information, and I would argue a lot more than that is really the case. So this is for people directly looking for Sims, Ipswich, or whatever you were looking for. Arguably, a lot more people are looking for local services. If you Google search carpets, you're not looking for somewhere in Glasgow. You're probably looking for somewhere in Ipswich. And that's how Google seems to work this sort of stuff out. So Google My Business is great for both location and brand because it applies both to the search. So having a profile doesn't only support you being visible in your local area, but it also helps protect your brand. So we actually did this for a brand, a startup brand called Candidate X. Some of you might know Candidate X was actually an old political term, and we essentially changed the search results to say that actually it's a brand now, and people who search Candidate X now get presented with that brand rather than with the results about the political search. And if you have a business and you don't have a GMB set up, it's a whole bunch of stuff that you're missing out on. I'm going to run you through all those. Obviously, as we said, it's free to set up and use, so you're missing out on free leads. Some people won't want to go through the whole rigmarole of contacting you and doing all that sort of stuff on your website, especially if you don't have a website. This is a great way of getting free leads and being visible in your local area for people who are searching, especially if you've got a business that is mainly word of mouth. You could be missing out on website traffic. If you have a website and you're not using Google My Business accurately, or it goes to the wrong place, or you could be missing out on valuable people that are browsing for your product or service and haven't arrived at your website. This is a really easy way for people to get there without having to compete with big brands in big searches. You could be missing out on engagement from potential new customers. New customers might have questions, they might want to read reviews, they might want to, look at what sort of services you offer. Google My Business offers all of these things really quickly. So you've got that extra potential to convert and engage new customers. It's so much easier for existing customers as well. And we can't forget about the existing customers. Being able to go straight through to a brand search and find Google My Business and contact someone directly through that, rather than having to find the website, go through that, and then find the contact page. This could be a really valuable thing for maintaining and keeping existing relationships. GMB is actually also a really good place for trust signals. So Google loves a trust signal. Google loves to see that you are a trustworthy business, and Google My Business is a perfect place to tell Google that you're trustworthy, that you know what you're talking about, and that your customers like you. So things like reviews, question and answers, all stuff we'll go through. This is all held within that Google platform. It's so much easier for Google to see, and you're so much more likely to get seen if you've got that stuff. It also shows authority. So if you've got lots of content on your website about something really interesting that you know loads of stuff about, but no one can find it because it's in a niche industry, or it's in an industry that's really overflowing with stuff, but you think you've got something that's over the edge, this gives you an opportunity to say, actually, this is really good. I know what I'm talking about. Google My Business gives you that opportunity to say, I know what I'm talking about. And essentially, it helps you create an online entity. So it helps you create an online version of your bricks and mortar shop or your home office, whatever it is, however you run your business, it creates that, but online and in really, really accessibly. And obviously, it's not just for people with a website. If you don't have a website, Google My Business can be your website. It can do everything that a website can do. There we go. So now we're going to talk about how to make the most of it. So setting it up is super quick and easy. You do have to have a login for Google. So you have to have a Google account or a G Suite account. You can do this without having an @Gmail email address. You can set it up so it's, it goes on your business domain if you've got one already. You can have it however you want. It is literally just a case of Google searching, set up Gmail account. You log in, and then in the top right corner, there's a bunch of dots in the corner right next to your face where your profile is. Click that, select My Business, and then it is literally a case of following your steps. Try and answer everything within those steps as accurately as possible. That just helps. It makes it so much easier later on when you're trying to optimize the profile if it's super accurate when you start. So as we said, here's our list of minimum profile elements again. Name, phone number, category, website if you have one, address, business hours, and our logo. So business descriptions. I think this is something that is often overlooked on Google My Business profiles. It's often left empty. This is basically if somebody said to you, what does your business do? And you just didn't answer them. That is essentially what leaving this empty does. So this is a great opportunity to show off the tone of voice of your brand. You can essentially here you want to tell them what you can do. You can add in your keywords if you're being found locally already. If you've already done SEO and you're doing that sort of thing, you can use keywords for your services in here. Include a contact call to action. It's an extra place just for somebody to be encouraged to contact you. And within these descriptions, it's important to note that every character counts. So don't waffle. If it's not important to put in there, it's probably not important for your customers or potential customers to read. So the next and arguably the biggest thing that comes up in the setting up process is choosing the correct category. So Google will know if you're actually a carpet shop and you say that you're a pet shop, on GMB, Google will know that, and they will probably penalize you for it and probably won't show you to anyone for carpet shops or pet shops. Google's quite petty in that way. And it will reward if you're trustworthy. So you'll get more visibility if you're being fully honest in your business categories. So here, obviously, Donnelly Watson, some of you may know them, local client, they sell carpets and flooring. All of these categories that we've got here are very accurate to Donnelly Watson. They fit, they have a shop, they do contracting, they install everything, and they can supply those extra things. So basically, you want to find as many of these as possible that are very accurate to your business. But once you start getting away from your core business, that's when you need to stop. And you should never have any more than 10 categories. That's where you kind of need to step back and think, why have I got so much that my business does? And kind of start to refine down what you actually want to be seen as online. And it goes for all of this. The more you do right, the more visible you are. Think about that as you're doing things. Google loves it when people are nice and honest. Okay. So adding services and products. This is actually relatively recent feature in the last couple of years. So a lot of people don't make use of these features. You can actually put products and services that you offer directly into Google My Business, and people can actually order straight from Google My Business if they want to as well, which is really cool. So this essentially allows customers to make decisions on whether they're going to purchase from you before they get to your website and realize that you don't do what they want you to do. So for Donnelly Watson as an example, we've got products down here. If I'm looking for a wool carpet, straight away I can see that Donnelly Watson offers wool carpets. I can go into that product, have a quick look at what they've got in there, or at least know that they do the sort of item that I'm looking for, and go to the website. It's handy to have your whole product range on here, or at least as categories of product ranges if you've got loads of them, just because it helps qualify out those people who don't need it. Google My Business is a great way to reduce bounce rate, especially on e-commerce. So having products and services verified can impact website rankings. If you have your services and your products consistent across your Google My Business and your website, you will see beneficial ranking improvements for those service or product terms that you want to be ranking for in the local area. And then also services, which is unfortunately at the moment mobile only, but is how people mostly use GMB anyway. It will answer people's questions very quickly as to whether you offer the service that they're looking for. If not, they can use the Q&A feature, which we'll talk about a bit later. So posts and images, they're basically Facebook posts or Twitter posts, however you normally use or consume social media, but they're available for everyone. So you don't have to have Facebook or Twitter to actually see this stuff. This is a great way of repurposing social content, not word for word, but a great way of getting that out there everywhere. So they're visible in the SERP for 7 days. They then get archived and they chill out on your profile, and someone can look for them if they want to look for them. Regular posting is great for your credibility, but it also tells Google that you're active. So the more active you are on things like GMB, the more likely you are to be visible. So this is a great thing if you need something to kind of keep updating, keep doing, this is a great way of doing it. It offers an additional CTA. So for things like if you have offers or sales on, you can offer people a direct link to that part of your website. Again, the more you do right, the more visible you are. Images are quite important in here as well. If the more images you have, the more likelihood of engagement and the higher likelihood of them going to your website. There is some stats on that somewhere online. And it also gives customers a visual idea of what your brand is like. Hashtags, don't bother with hashtags on GMB. They don't do anything. I see it all the time, people using hashtags on here. Google doesn't use hashtags, so don't worry about those. And finally, posts and images also reinforce your brand and values and the consistency between them. So you don't want to be talking, you know, in a completely different tone on your GMB profile, because people will be shocked when they then go to your website. You don't want to give that kind of shock. So this is a great way to ease customers into your tone. So reviews. Reviews is the most important part of Google My Business entirely. So you won't get this straight away when you set up. But this is, if you take anything away from this, reviews is the one thing you should take away. Once you've set up your profile, ask for reviews. It is so powerful to have lots of good reviews. They don't all have to be 5 stars. In fact, it's better if they're not. You're more trustworthy if they're not all 5 stars. It means they're honest reviews. And managing negative reviews can still be a positive. So Google loves it when you say, I'm really sorry you had a bad time. Can we help? Can we do something? Can we talk about it? Let's engage. Engaging negative customers, sometimes those customers can be your best customers. So it's always worth replying to those people and giving them good service. Always customize your response to reviews as well. If they're good or bad, don't copy and paste stuff. Google knows, and it'll be a bit miffed about that if you're not putting the effort in. It shows Google that you care about what people think about you and about your customers in general. It's also really cool because it benefits paid search. If you get 100 unique reviews in 12 months, you get a little star rating. If you do paid search, you will get a little star rating under your ads on Google search if you've got 100 of those. So that's really cool. The final really important point is if you don't think you're doing a 5-star job, don't ask for 5-star reviews. If you ask for reviews, you will get honesty. So if you're not prepared for some kind of critique, don't ask for reviews. Wait until you are confident that you are doing the best job you could be doing. Then you ask for reviews. There's loads of ways to ask for reviews, so we can run through that in the question and answers a bit later if anybody's interested in that. Suspensions. So these are less important than they used to be. We had about a spat of about a year where they were just being handed out left, right, and center, and it was really frustrating as an SEO trying to get all these profiles back that were being suspended for no reason. Obviously, you later find out that there is a reason. So top ways to stop suspensions happening. Look after your profile, keep it updated, keep it regular, and stick to the guidelines. When you get suspended, you stop being visible on Google entirely. Your profile stops being visible, even if people search for your brand. So this is definitely not what you want. So suspensions are handed out by algorithms. So if their algorithm doesn't deem your profile acceptable, it will be handed a suspension, but they are removed by people, which makes them really hard to get rid of once they're there, because you have to get hold of Google support. And Google My Business being a free service means that Google support doesn't prioritize Google My Business support at all. So it can take quite a long time. Longest waiting time for me to get a profile removed from suspension was 3 months. And that was a very long drawn out process for a local business, and they really suffered because of it. So it's definitely important to familiarize yourself with guidelines and make sure you understand what's going on. So attributes, I didn't have a good gift for this one, so I just put in a cat and his owner having a high five. Hope you appreciate that one. So attributes are fast becoming a really important part of decision making for customers. You might have noticed on some business profiles, if you regularly use search for finding local restaurants, etc., they have things like whether staff wear masks or temperature checks or whether there's wheelchair accessibility. These things can make very quick decisions on behalf of the customer as to whether they're going to use that business or not, especially if it's going to visit in person. So these are really good if you have the option. Some profiles, it won't give you the option to add a lot here. Some it will. Absolutely use it if it gives you the option. So it helps your business basically share their USPs. This is especially great for female-owned and Black-owned businesses. It helps that just that extra layer of visibility, and also helps customers decide if they want to support that business for any other reason. It'll help your customers feel safe and welcome if they know people are having COVID tests regularly or temperature checks. And it answers quick questions about the business as to, you know, do they have free Wi-Fi? Can I get in my wheelchair? Can I go and sit indoors, or is it outdoors only? Those sorts of things are all available within attributes if Google allows it. Sometimes they won't give you those options. So the Q&A feature, again, another underrated feature, in my opinion. It's one of those things that a lot of people just ignore, but it basically is what it says on the tin. It allows users to ask questions. They do have to have a Google account in order to do so, but they can ask questions about the business, and business owners can answer them. Best way to use Q&A feature is to upload your own questions. So 1 or 2 every month or every week, upload your own questions and then answer them in a kind of FAQ style. So it's a great way of keeping your profile up to date when you've got pre-made FAQs. You can add 1 or 2 every now and then, keeps your profile nice and refreshed and active, and also answers questions you know your customers are going to ask. So yeah, this is a great way of presenting your FAQs outside of your website as well. If you find your FAQs are commonly used on your website, this eliminates the need for customers to go searching for that information. It's right there for them. So you're much more likely for that to be a warm lead when they get to your website, because they've already had all these important questions answered. It has been proven to be a conversion factor. So customers that are happy, that have all their questions answered before they even have to say, how much is it? They're so much more likely to buy from you if you're providing that information up front. And then, yeah, it offers that level of communication without needing to visit the website, which is one of the wonderful things about GMB. So here's just some extra bits that Google My Business offers. They weren't worth their own slides. So they do offer a secondary hours section, which is great for example, if you run a pub and you do a lunch service and a dinner service, you can split those hours out so you don't get people turning up at 4 o'clock asking for their dinner when you're closed. Some types of services are allowed direct booking. So this is more common for beauty or hairdressing. You can directly book your appointments via GMB. There are some APIs that you can use to book your appointments. I don't know which ones they are off the top of my head, but they do change regularly. So it'd be something you'd have to check if you wanted to use that service, but they're looking at rolling that out wider into the community to use for appointments and stuff like that. They're going to be tailoring services and categories much more to users. So to what people are searching around that area. So you might get language differences, you might get, I don't know, whatever someone calls a bread roll up north, you might get more likely to get that and have a result for a bakery come up than if someone searches for a bread roll down here and one of our bakeries comes up. There's also COVID updates and support. So you can, if you are registered as a charity, you can ask for donations via Google My Business. This is a really great feature. It's been really good for a lot of charity shops that have had to close during COVID. And it also gives you updates, a section for updates. So you can actually update your customers as to whether you're open or not, whether you're allowing people to come in without appointments, all those kinds of important things. And those COVID updates will come up right at the top of your profile. So Google makes them really important, which is really great. And then finally, the virtual tours. I don't see this used very often, but I have seen it a couple of times during the pandemic. Galleries and museums have used this feature to allow people to see what's going on, especially the free to enter ones, to allow people to see what's going on when they can't visit, which has been really cool. But yeah, it's not a massively popular feature at the moment, as far as I know. So just a little bit of proof in the pudding for you, if you're still not 100% sure why GMB is worth it, which I hope you are. So one of our clients, between December and January last year and this year, they attributed directly £2,000 worth of revenue just to Google My Business. And that's from discovery. So that's from product searches, not from brand searches. And over a 12-month period, from last January to the January just been, they attributed £10,000 worth of revenue to this platform. They spent about £600 setting it up with marketing agency. So the return on investment is insane. And this is something that they didn't have to do an awful lot of management on. They did every now and then. They added some new photos of some odd products, but it took them minimal effort, and that's 10 grand's worth of revenue they might not have had previously. So here I've just got some additional resources. I've written my own series of GMB blogs. I'll share this slide deck around afterwards so you can go through these links yourself. Yes, I've written my own series on how to actually use GMB. There's some more information on the Q&A process that I've just launched as well with Local, which is a great local SEO tool. And there's a link there to Google's guidelines for GMB. Some other good, really good resources for learning about local SEO as well. So Local and Ahrefs, both great resources for local SEO stuff. And there's just a little link to an agency that's really good at SEO there at the bottom, if you needed it. Okay, so that is that. I'm going to stop sharing my screen and we can run through questions.
Thank you very much. Right, I'm going to read the questions that are in the chat, and then I'm going to let them loose on you, Levi. So we're going to, oh, hang on, the chat's disappeared. Here we go, over here. So Jane Billings, who's there, wait, Jane in the green there.
Hello.
Hi.
I was told, oh, I think that was that the first question, or that was another one before that. Oh, we go, right back up here. Is there a maximum number of products you can add?
No, not in my experience. I've added probably hundreds to profiles previously, and I've never been told there's a stop, so hopefully not.
Right. Okay, thank you.
Kevin's here, gorgeous Kevin, has an issue that it looks fleshed out, but his Google My Business is saying it's only 85% complete. And he's gone through it several times and he's wondering what the extra 15% is, Levi, if you can give him any pointers. Yes,
so I can tell you almost straight off the bat, that's probably because you haven't accepted the £80 free ad credit from Google. Google will tell you that you need to spend this free ad credit with them and set up PPC, a paid advertising with them in order to complete your profile. You don't need to do that. It's just a way to try and get you to sign up to do paid advertising and make a little bit of money off you. So unless you think that £80 will really benefit you, which on most of the time it won't, £80 is not really enough to do an awful lot of paid advertising with Google. Unless you think it will really benefit you, it's not worth doing. So I can almost guarantee that's where your missing 15% is. It's Google being naughty.
It is though, isn't it? Because that's like, that would just do your head in. There's 15% of
Yep.
Yeah,
all of my profiles look like that, and it's really annoying.
An on-tick to-do list. Oh, drive you potty. The next one from Jane again. I was told once that when you reply to a review that you should put in your product name. Google notices that too. Is that right?
In a way, yes, but only if it's relevant to the question, or the review. So if they've left a review and said this haircut was awful, I really hated it, and I hated the product you put in it, you could reply saying, was it this product? etc., etc. We're really sorry, that kind of stuff. But I would say that's probably a lot of effort for very little kind of return. I think that sort of thing is only really valuable if it's a really good review and they're asking for product names or something like that. That's where it's really beneficial. But otherwise, it feels like a lot of effort for not a lot of return.
One of the things about it was that, if people are sending me a review, which is very good of them, and I ask for them all the time anyway, they rarely refer to it being a container that they've had supplied. So what I say is, well, I'm glad you like your container service or our container products or whatever.
Yeah.
I think the word container for me has got to be in there, but you don't think that's going to make much difference then for search?
I mean, it makes sense in that sense, because you're kind of saying, I'm glad you liked this product that I provided you, especially if that's a very single kind of thing that you do and it's very critical to the profile. Then in that way it's great. It's more just if you're kind of shoehorning in product names or service names when it doesn't really fit. But in that sense, that actually works. So I'd crack on doing that.
Right, good, thank you.
Containers is a weirdly competitive world.
Tell me about it.
There's none left anymore because they're everywhere. Everywhere you look, there's extra containers.
There's worldwide shortage going on.
I can't fully believe it. Right, next question from Kev, which I used to do this back in the day, and it used to involve longitude and latitude. So I'm hoping that there's a new answer to this. So Kev's question is what's the best way to ask for reviews for the profile? Is there a link that can be put to customers directly into the review form?
Yes, there is. There is a wonderful link. If you go into your profile manager in the back end, you should be able to find, if you go to home, so the home section of your profile manager, there should be a link somewhere that says share your business or ask for reviews. It will be in it'll be a little kind of box that says ask for reviews. You can generate a short link there, and then you can send that short link to whoever you like, and they will go straight through to the review box. It is much easier than it used to be. Sometimes you have to do a little bit of searching for it though.
Used to be, you used to literally have to get your longitude and latitude off the map and then put it into this weird thing. It was fine. It went exactly where you went to, but it wasn't. And it was always when someone asked you, be like, right, let me just explain this. Right, next question from Jane again.
Sorry.
Guys, great. Jane, I love it. Jane was, I have to say, always one of the SimStar pupils and probably is a tech SEO. I've said this for years, Jane, own it. Next question, should we be careful not to repeat Q&A with our website?
Word for word, yes. So don't use exactly the same words as you would on your website, but absolutely answer the same questions on Q&A as you've got on your website. Google doesn't like duplication, but it does like consistency. So if you know people are asking those questions a lot, answer it on your GMB profile, absolutely, but don't use it exactly word for word.
Okay, thank you.
That's the end of the questions. So if anyone's got any questions in real life that they would like to ask, now's your time.
Can I ask another question? Sorry.
Of course you can.
The virtual tours, I haven't looked at that yet, so I don't know anything about it really. But I mean, with the virtual tour, can you use a YouTube video to sort of put on there, or is it something you've got to go and pay for or get something?
As far as I know, you can upload videos to the virtual tours section. It's not something we've done just because we've never had clients that have needed it. But you can also have, there are photographers that are well trained in doing these 360 virtual tour videos. So you can likely find someone that has the kind of skill set to be able to record those videos for you. But if you've got one, as far as I know, you can upload them. You'd have to double check me on that. But previously, I'm pretty sure you could upload them.
Okay, thank you.
Anyone else? We're very quiet. Natasha, are you thumbs up?
Can you hear me?
Oh my God, hiya, how you doing?
Oh, hello, it's great. Yeah. Okay, sorry. I'm on a headset and it's like really broken. I'm like, can you hear me? I've got a quick question.
You've just
lovely. Sorry, I didn't catch all of the meeting, unfortunately, but just on the point with the reviews, obviously the Oyster Inn's a pub, and we obviously do brunch, dinner, lunch, etc. And I know that there was something I caught about you can categorize lunch and dinner, etc., for feedback. Can you input a section where they can provide feedback on certain aspects of the service that we provide at a pub? So could there be a drop down that can be put in place to say, okay, I came for brunch, this is my feedback, I came for dinner, that was my feedback? Or would it just be universal?
Not on Google My Business,
Okay.
no. So you can't separate, or you can't choose what service you used by the company on GMB. But if you wanted to do that, it'd absolutely be beneficial for having on your website, having that option.
Okay.
They wouldn't be Google reviews, but having that kind of potentially Trustpilot or something similar where you can select what they've used from you. That could be a great just extra trust signal to put on your website, and that'll benefit GMB as well. So it's worth doing, but you can't do it on GMB, unfortunately.
Okay, no worries, thank you.
Levi?
Yeah.
What happens if I've just, while you were talking and doing sort of so brilliantly, I was in my Google My Business and realised that it was so out of date, it was ridiculous. So I've just updated everything, but now it's saying I need to verify it, and it's only by postcard. Is that right?
Yeah, so that'll be because everything was very out of date and you've then gone in and updated a lot all at once. Google will suddenly go, oh, is this who I think it is? And will panic and send you a verification thing and ask you to re-verify. So I would absolutely do the verification thing again. You should still be appearing in search, but it will be with your old information, not your new stuff. So just want to make sure it's
it was like, what's that? Yeah. Good. Okay. Good job I came on tonight.
Can I pick up the thing about the percentage complete, because there's a lot on Google My Business which I don't feel I can fill out or is relevant to my business. So it always says that I'm quite a lot incomplete. Is there a way to sort of turn off certain bits to go, yeah, I've looked at that, but actually it's not relevant to me? Or do I just have to accept that I'm only going to stay at 70% or something?
Yeah, as far as I know, there's no way to kind of switch off unapplicable features. So a lot of people won't use products or services on GMB because it's not applicable. And you'll get that kind of 70% complete sort of thing. Or if you don't want to add photography, for example, that sort of thing can be quite frustrating only getting that. But as far as I know, there's no way to switch that off. So annoyingly, you kind of have to get used to seeing the 70%. Eventually, it does go away.
Doesn't sit well with me not being at 100%.
Yeah.
But it also keeps asking me for my logo, and my logo is on there. So I don't know whether it just doesn't recognise the file as being a logo.
So it might be. There is if you go into your photo section, there should be a specific slot for your logo. So it might be that you've updated it as photos and not into the specific slot for logo.
Yeah, it does say logo on it, but then in another section it's asking me to put my logo on.
I have the same issue where mine also says it needs a logo, but it's got my logo in the section. I think it always says you need to upload your logo.
Yeah,
that's really unusual. Okay. What I would suggest is try uploading the logo again into the section where it's asking you for it.
Yeah.
And then removing the duplicate if you're bothered about the duplicate being there. It doesn't really matter. And then remove it and just see if that gets the notification to go away. Sometimes they get a little bit buggy because they don't have a lot of support from Google internally because it's free. Sometimes the profiles do get a little bit buggy. So that might be the problem, that you just need to re-upload it.
Yeah. Okay, brilliant. Thank you.
Any more? Do you, I'm a local guide, level 5, Levi. Do you ever look at it from the other side? Are you a local guide, I assume, as well?
I am a local guide, yeah.
What level are you? How many points have you got?
I think I'm level 3.
Winning! There are so little wins in my life, that's it. I'm going to take it where I can. That's amazing. So do you ever look at it from the other side? Is there anywhere where local guides discuss guiding?
Yeah, so it's local guide thing is a weird one because it used to be very, very popular because they used to give you Google gifts and you know, postcards and pens and water bottles and stuff that had Google branding on, and everybody thought that was very chic. But I don't actually get anywhere near as many questions or reviews, etc., from local guides as I used to. I do it when I can. So when I'm searching for businesses or when I've checked into a place on Google, I do enter the information as much as I can because I know it helps the businesses. But a lot of people don't realize it helps the businesses. So a lot of people won't do it. But I do think it's something that, since they removed a lot of the perks and just made it kind of gamified it a little bit and made it just, you get up to level 5 and you win, yay, and didn't really give you any like prizes or anything, I think a lot of people stopped using it. So it's become a lot less of a community than it used to be.
Yeah, I think it was bigger back in the day. It's probably just a bit different. And I'm with you, I kind of understand. We've got a question from David. He's got his hand up.
Hello. Kept trying to turn my microphone on again, turning itself off again. So the kind of stuff that I do is very business to business, and I think I've worked out there might be 10 companies I'm going to try and sell to in the UK. And I just wonder whether or not it feels like quite a lot of work to get this right for potentially not many contacts. And my dilemma is, do I go down the LinkedIn route or do I go down this route, etc. So I'm intrigued by your view on that.
I mean, I'm a little bit biased because it's my job and I love it. But I would still say, even if not for a leads perspective, so even if you don't think it's going to get you an awful lot of leads in the UK, I absolutely think it's worth having as a brand protection piece and just as an awareness piece. You never know, there might end up being more companies that you'd want to work with in the future, that it could end up being more beneficial for you in the future. So it's kind of a foundational activity, and it also depends how long you feel like is a lot of work. Generally, this would take me maybe 2 hours tops to fill out properly, especially
you
if you're the
write,
business
though,
owner,
can't you?
know everything.
That's an important skill. And the other
it
side
doesn't
of it
have
is,
to be fancy.
yeah, if a lot of that business is well away from it, which some of it, I have one customer in Ipswich, but most of it I imagine is going to be elsewhere. From the way you're talking, I kind of got the impression this is heavily focused on local business to local people, without getting too into whatever that TV program was.
It is in a way. It's best used that way, but actually I manage Google My Business profiles for national businesses, and they get as much, if not more, traffic from GMB as they do for little local businesses. So the same kind of goes. If you've got, say you wanted to work with a lot of companies in kind of big business districts, and you want to target those people, you can set your service areas for those areas. So you can have one profile and it be visible in Birmingham, Liverpool, Glasgow, all these big areas that you want it to be visible in. You just have to identify that to Google. So it's best done if you were in Ipswich and you had all your customers in Ipswich, then it's, that's great. That's probably the best way to use it. But I know of many national companies and international companies that use this very much to their value. So I would still say, still do it if you can, or ask someone to help you to do it. It doesn't take an awful long time. You can use copy from your website if you're really desperate and you really don't want to write it. Obviously that's not ideal, but it's better that it's there than it's not there. So I would still say still do it, but yeah, if you need any help, you can absolutely just send me an email and I can point you in the right direction.
And the last question then, was that an actual quote from Strategic for doing it, 600 quid to have work then earlier on?
So that was a specific client in their very specific situation. It would be a case of, if you wanted it done by us or by any other local agency, you kind of just have to go to them and say, how, this is what I've got, how would you best do this? And it's a case by case basis. It depends on the complexity of the business, how much would want to be added, if you'd want it fully optimized or just optimized to a level where it's useful for your business. There's a lot of potentials in there, a lot of variables, so it'd be a case by case.
Okay, cool, thank you.
No worries.
Sorry, Levi, can I ask you another quick question?
Yeah.
Sorry, earlier you said about asking for reviews and don't ask unless you want like 100% honesty and until you're 100% confident in your product or business.
Yeah.
You mentioned that you'd go over like how we're able to ask for reviews. Could you go through that in a little bit of a few points?
Yeah, sure. So obviously if you're face to face, the best way to ask is just at the end of your service, just ask and say, look, if you liked it, please leave me a review. The next easiest way we find, which obviously isn't applicable for everyone, but the next easiest way we find is by email. People quite like to receive a thank you email or a confirmation email after they've bought a product. Sending them that and saying, if you really liked your experience with us, please could you review how we helped you. And then the same goes again once they receive the product, perhaps wait 2 or 3 weeks and then do the same thing.
Okay,
so
perfect.
Yeah, they're the best ways to do it. But you can also do it by social media. Put out a little link that says, any of our previous customers, please can you leave us a review. Same thing goes for pretty much any social medias, to be honest. And any way that you would normally interact with your customers. So if you do SMS, same goes. And using that short link is the best way to do it.
Okay, thank you.
Sorry.
There we go. Right, I love it because it's always hard to get questions out there. There hits a point when it just cracks on and gets on with it. We always get an extra 20 minutes of questions. Right, it's love. Thank you so much, Levi. Honestly, really appreciate it. And I had a conversation with somebody who works in SEO in another agency today, and they were talking just about Google My Business. And so although to my mind and the way people think about it is it's such a small slice of that SEO pie, but actually it isn't. It's becoming massive, particularly for local sales, and that as Levi's pointed out tonight. So again, speak to anyone. We've recorded this session, we'll put it onto the ISTN YouTube channel, we'll send it out to you guys via Sims. Feel free to share it and point people towards Levi. She is excellent at what she does. She would be more than happy to help and get involved. And that's it. Then we have got other events booked. We haven't got anything else booked for Sims. They are booked. They're just not on the website, and I can't remember what they are. But we have got some sync events which we'll pop into the email. One of them is around presentation skills. So although that's for sync, it's for everybody. And I think there's another one about best practicing codings. But we'll send you all of those details. In fact, actually, I'll send you 2 emails. I'll send you through Levi's information. And the link to this video, but I'll also then probably wait to put all of the events on and send you through because there's quite a list coming across all of the meetups and OWASP as well. So we'll try and get you as much information. So until 110 all, we're really keen to get everybody back. Hopefully at some point we'll be back in real life in some sort of meeting room, maybe even back at the waterfront if we get lucky. And we can have cake, yay. And that's it. So kind of that's all there is, which Levi can bring, which sounds amazing. That's it from us this evening. We will see you soon. We'll be back in touch. If there's any topics, as I said, if there's any topics that you would like to hear about, let us know. That's what we're here for. You're getting a round of applause from Kevin, look. Thank you, Levi. Honestly, we really appreciate it. You're an absolute star. And thank you all for coming.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you. Bye.